the plan is we're going to talk about processing our data for our IA. Now, if you have your data collected and you're ready to go, you can kind of follow along with me. Probably most of you are not at this stage of the game, but I want to make this so that, like, as you get there, you can queue up this video and kind of use it as a follow along to kind of do the data processing when you're ready. Everybody's cool?
Yeah.
All right. So if you are someone who collected data from a publicly available source and not via survey, your first steps would be to go ahead and like number your data. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a separate column. I'm gonna name the first entry 1. Then in the next row, I'm gonna type equals. I'm gonna click on that cell above it and then type in +1 and press enter. And then I'm gonna click on that cell and move my cursor to the bottom right-hand corner where my cursor turns into a black plus sign.
Wait, equals, sorry. 1, and then equals what, the next one? Equals, sorry.
You gotta follow along with me. We can't keep doing this the whole time, okay? I mean, this is why we're recording it too, right? So it's okay. But yeah, I mean, we can pause for a second, but I'm recording it too. You know, like it's just that we have a lot to get through and it's not gonna necessarily be follow along, and it's okay to get like turned around in a place, but all we're talking about doing right now is numbering the column, right? So I typed in an equal sign and I just clicked in the cell above it and then typed in +1, right? And pressed enter. I'm going to grab the bottom right-hand corner of the cell so my cursor turns into a black plus sign. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button and then just drag down to the last data point. So I've numbered my data. Okay, so all my data has been assigned a number. What I'll do now is I'll take out my graphing calculator and I'm going to have the calculator choose a random number. So to do that, I press the math button. On my calculator, I go over to probability. I'm going to pick a random integer, no repeat. That's the last option. So mine goes from 1 to 50 are my random numbers, and maybe I'm going to pick 25 of them. Now, when it's you guys that are actually doing this, you'd want to pick approximately 10% of your data, no more than 10%, but that should be closer to like 50 or 70 or 100 data points. The more, the better. Makes life easier later on the more you have. And then I just press enter. So there's my random digits. Those are the numbers of the data points I'm going to keep for the actual data I'm going to produce. But right now they're just in like any old random order, which kind of stinks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store these into like L1. So I press the STO button and then L1. And now I'll do second list. We'll go to ops and we're going to sort that ascending on L1. And then I'll look at L1 and now things are in a nice order. So it makes it easier for me to rather than scrolling up and down and up and down and up and down my list going back and forth, now they're just here. So I'd start by I'd highlight data points 1 through 3. And then, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm just going to kind of go down, and highlight those things. And that's the stuff I'm going to cut and paste to a second sheet and just keep the randomly selected data. Everything else is going to just stay in my original data. I don't need it ever again. Is everybody okay? So that's how you'll do your random data selection if you were if you collected your own data. Everybody's good? All right. Now, once you've done that, or if you did data collection via survey, what you'll do is you'll take your raw data. Now, my raw data, I have 50 data points. Hopefully, you'll be able to collect a little bit more than that. I'm just going to barely make this work by the skin of my teeth with this 50 data points. And I made up this data so that it can barely work by the skin of its teeth. The more you have, the better. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to organize my observed counts table. So I'll start by highlighting both columns of my data. And I'm going to sort my data now according to the height column. Oops, I wanted to take the names too. So I want to highlight the column names also. So I'm going to click the Data tab, and I'm going to pick the Sort button, and I want to sort height, and I'm going to sort that from smallest to largest. Now, it's critically important that when you do this step, you highlight both columns of data. If you highlight only one column, you've now unpaired your X's and Y's and you've ruined your data. So you have to undo back to where you unpaired them, or you have to reload in a fresh sheet of data. Don't unpair them, okay? All right. So I'm gonna hit okay. That's gone and resorted my data. It's kept the X's and Y's paired, but now it's sorted by X's from smallest to largest. What I'm going to do now is pick a range of values for my observed counts. So for heights, I'm going to do the height on the vertical and the shoe size on the horizontal. So the heights, if I look at this, I have 50 data points. I probably want about the same amount of data in each one. So maybe I'll go up to 66. We'll make that 1. And then like I go to 76. So maybe 66 to or 67 to 70. Do another color. And then like 71 to 76, I'll have another color. So I'll record that. So I have 61 or 60 less than X less than 67. And then I'll have 66 less than X less than 71. And we'll have 70 less than X, and I'll just stop there because it doesn't matter how big it gets. Everybody's okay? I'm going to now re-highlight both columns of data, including the titles. And I'm now going to sort my Y column. And again, I'm going to just sort it from smallest to largest. And I'm going to do a similar thing. So maybe I'll take shoe sizes 7 to 9. And maybe we'll pick those guys will be green. And then maybe 10 to 11. Those guys will be that green. And then all the rest of them, maybe those guys will be the blue. Everybody feel good? All right, so I'm going to type those in. So I have 6 less than X less than 10. And then 9 less than X less than 12. And then I'll have 11 less than X, and that's good enough. And I'm going to go ahead and color code these so it just makes it easier for me to remember what I did. So just color code those to match the colors that I coded. The only reason I'm color coding these is just to make the counting easier, because like, boy howdy, it's a hassle to figure out how many should belong in each category if you don't color code it. It just makes it like super simple. All right. Oops, that shouldn't have been colored. That's going to screw me up later. All right. So I'm going to start by counting my yellows. So if I count yellow and green, I have those sets, or yellow and pea green or whatever. I have those sets of data, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sound good? And if I do yellow and dark green, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I have yellow and blue, I have just the 1. Everybody feel good how I'm doing the counting? And now you see why I'm color coding things. Just makes it so much simpler than trying to like go through and find this, right? All right, now let's do oranges. So I have orange and light green. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then orange and dark green, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And then orange and blue, orange and blue, I have 4 of those. Okay. And I'll do reds. So I have no red and light blue. And then red and light green, pea green. Red and dark green, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. And then red and blue, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So far, so good. Now I'm going to add up the columns. I'm not going to add these up manually. I'm going to have Excel do it for me, because if I have to go back and change something, I don't have to remember to re-add up the columns. So to do that, what I'm going to do is in this cell right here, I clicked in it. I'm going to type equals, and then the command I want is SUM for sum. So SUM. I'm going to type a parenthesis, and I'm just going to highlight the 3 cells above it. So I press the left mouse button and drag down, and then I'll just hit tab. So there it added up 11, 6, and 0 to make 17. And because I did it this way, if I click on the cell and I find that lower right-hand corner of my box where my cursor's changed to the dark cross, and I drag across, it applies that same formula recursively. And then I can click in this cell and drag up. Oops, that's probably not going to work for me though. Oops. Let's not do that. That probably won't work. I'm just going to go to this cell up top and do equals SUM parenthesis, and this time drag across and do the same thing. Does everybody feel okay how I did that? Okay. So next I'm going to calculate my expected counts. So I'm going to steal the same category names I have from above. And then what's the formula for an expected count? That's how to calculate the chi-squared statistic. The observed count is row total times column total divided by overall total. So row total, I clicked on the cell with the row total, and I'll do shift and number 8 to get the star, and then I'll click on the next cell that has the column total. I'll do the backslash right next to the shift button for divides, and then I'll click on the overall total and press enter. And then I'm just going to repeat that same process. So again, just row total times column total divided by overall total. Oh, so far, how are things going? With my expected counts, is everything going okay? Are they passing I have a condition, right? What's the condition they need to pass? Anybody remember? It's called the large counts condition. It needs to be greater than 5. How am I doing? Not good. Why not? Yeah, I have one of them that's not passing, right? Rats. All right. So I have just one problem here, this guy in the middle, right? The 480. So what I want to do, if I look at this, if I look at what's going on here, if I look next to 480, that whole row is a little bit light, right? 510, 480, 510. If I look at the row above it or below it, 612, 576, 612, those are all pretty safe. Everybody see that? I'm going to try to rearrange my how my boundaries are set to try to push a little bit of the data from the 70, x greater than 70, into x between 66 and 71. So I'm going to try to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and look, I'm going to resort my data based on heights, because that's what I want to be doing. So data, sort, and back to heights. If I look, oh, this is perfect, so perfect. I can just take this 171 and push it into that middle group. Everybody agree? That'll be, should give me exactly what I need. So I'm going to color that, oops, sorry, this one. So I'm going to color that 71 orange. So this is now going to 72, and this one is going to 71, right? And that specific one was in the dark green category. So in the dark green category, I'm going to take one from the orange, dark green, or from the red and dark green, and I'm going to move it to the orange and dark green. And because I set up everything else as a formula, notice when I change those, what happened everywhere else? All the observed counts, totals, they all updated automatically. And the expected counts, all updated automatically. Which is why I want to do this with a formula rather than like typing the number in manually. Because if I have to make any changes, it'll just update it automatically on its own, which is what I wanted to do. I don't want to have to worry about it by hand. So far, so good. All right. Next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to calculate my chi-squared statistic. So now, as Marin pointed out, to calculate the chi-squared statistic for each observed and expected count, I'm going to do observed minus expected squared divided by expected and add those all together. I'm going to do that all in just one formula. Everybody okay? Oh, before I start this though, one thing I should mention. The observed count table, I made a 3x3. Yes? You guys see that? Where I have 3 categories for each variable. The smallest your table can be is 3x2. I mean, you can have a 2x2 table, but don't, because there's a bunch of other correction calculations you have to do for that small of a table that you don't want to have to do. Just do a 3x2 at the smallest, or collect more data. Everybody okay? If you can do bigger than a 3x3, by all means, do bigger than a 3x3 if it makes sense for what you're doing. Okay? But smallest you should go is 3x2. Or 2x3, right? Okay. All right, let's do this now. So I'm going to type into the cell next to what I wrote, chi-squared. So I'm going to do parenthesis, observed minus expected, close parenthesis, squared. So that's shift 6 to get the exponent, that caret, divided by expected. Notice that I'm using the formula. In the formula, I'm using the cells automatically. So again, if I had to make a change later on, if I figure out, oh no, I typed in a data point wrong, or something, I included something I shouldn't, or I screwed something else up, if I have to change something else, all this will update automatically, right? Don't do it manually. Like make a formula, and then if your sheet needs to update, the sheet will just update. So I'm just going to kind of continue doing this. So observed minus expected squared divided by expected. And I'm just going to kind of keep going across doing this. Oops. Observed minus expected squared divided by expected plus observed minus expected squared divided by expected plus observed minus expected squared divided by expected plus last one, observed minus expected squared divided by expected. Everybody feel okay? So there's my expected, or my chi-squared statistic. Now, if I wanted to check this, I could type in my observed count table into my calculator and run the chi-squared independence test. It should output the same value I have here. So that'll let you know if you type the formula in correctly. But like, guys, we should be able to type the formula in correctly. Just got to pay attention. All right, along with the chi-squared statistic, what else do we often want? The p-value, right? So to get the p, what do I need to do? I need to do chi-squared distribution right tail using my chi-squared statistic and the degrees of freedom. How many degrees of freedom does mine have? 4. I'm actually going to do like a cell, and I'm just going to do degrees of freedom equals, and I'm going to type it in like this. Yes, fine. And there we go. How's that p-value look? What's that p-value telling me? Is that p-value big or small? Really small. Typically, what's the alpha that we compare the p to? 5%, so 0.05. We're less than that. What does p less than alpha tell us? Means that we've found evidence to reject the null hypothesis, right? So in this case, that height and shoe size seem to be related, which no doy, Mr. Kulik, I could have told you that. Everybody feel good so far? All right. In addition to that, we're going to calculate an R value to look at linear correlation, see how linear this data looks. To calculate R, what other things do I need? The standard deviation for each variable and the means for each variable. So let's do that. I'm going to calculate an X mean and an X standard deviation. Actually, let's do, yeah, that's fine. And then a Y mean. Actually, we'll do it this way. No, it won't matter. Y mean, and then a Y standard deviation. So I'm just naming these cells. Now, inside the, or next to the X mean, I'm going to type equals. And I'm going to do average. And if I like double click on it, it'll just input the rest of the formula for me. For some, I'm not worried about it. But some of these longer ones. So that's what I'm doing, average. and then I'm going to left click on the X data, drag it all the way to the bottom, and then press enter. There's my X mean. I'll do the same thing for my Y mean. So average. Zoop. So there's my Y mean. Let's do standard deviations now. So next to standard deviation, we type equals. And then I'm going to do ST. And then if I look, there's standard deviation P and S. What do you think the P and S stand for? Population and sample. Very good. In this class, what type of standard deviation do we always use? Population. I know. We said it one time. I don't blame you for not remembering. That's why I'm saying it again now, though. So do the population, and then we'll drag all the X values. And then equals STD population. We'll drag all the Y values. Everybody's okay? So far, so good, right? Now to calculate my R value, I'm going to do this the same way we did in our calculator. So I'm going to do like X minus X mean divided by X standard deviation. And I'll do like Y minus Y mean divided by Y standard deviation. And then I'm going to do just this column L times column M. And then we'll add all that stuff up and divide by the number of things, and we'll be there. Sound good? So again, I'm going to do this with a formula because, God forbid, I'm not doing this 50 times, just so I can like drag and drop it. So I'm going to, under the X minus X mean divided by X standard deviation, I'm going to type an equal sign. I'll do my parenthesis. I'll pick my first X value. I'm going to type the minus sign, type my X mean, close my parenthesis, division symbol, X standard deviation. But here's the thing, when I drag this, the way I've currently written it, the cell for the X mean and the X standard deviation are going to update also. They're going to move down one spot each time, and I don't want that to happen. I want those cells to remain constant, but I want the A2 to then become A3 and then A4 and A5, etc., right? So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dollar signs in front of the letter and number for the cell with the mean and the standard deviation in it. So you see on my formula bar, I clicked up in there and I put a dollar sign in front of the mean and standard deviation cell, letter, and number. Now press enter. And if I drag now all the way down, if I look, the first guy is updating, but the second, the mean and standard deviation, are staying in those cells that I want. Everybody feel good with what we did? We're going to do the same thing now for the Y's. So Y minus Y mean divided by Y standard deviation. And I'm going to go back up here and add those dollar signs again. Everybody's okay? Press enter. Grab my cell and drag down. Boy, that's so much easier than having to do it manually, right? And do like 100 data points in a second. And then equals this cell times this cell. And then drag down. Look good so far? Now to get R, the one other thing I need is my N. What's the number of data points I have here? It was 50, right? So my R then is going to equal 1 over N, so I'll use that cell, times the sum of this column. Yes, that's fine. And there's my R value. Not too shabby, right? Be surprised if any of you can beat that R value with real data. My data's all made up. Maybe some of you doing like sports statistics might find, if pick something where like you get an R value that good. But survey data, I'd be real surprised. Real data's pretty noisy. Okay, everybody so far so good? The last thing we probably want is a scatter plot to look at. So let's show you how we build one of those. So I just click on some cell, it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna do insert. And I'm gonna pick this chart here that looks like a scatter plot. I'm gonna pick this first option. Oops, never mind, I have to do something. I have to highlight my data first, dum-dum. Highlight my data first. I highlighted the titles also when I did that. And now I'm gonna do insert chart and pick that first option. So I'll move that down over here somewhere. Okay, so there's my chart. How's this look to you guys? Sucks for a lot of reasons, right? What's bad about it? The data points are squeezed into one corner. Great, we should fix that. What else do we need to fix? We need some labels on our axes. Yup. And the title stinks too, right? So I'm going to start by renaming the title because I can see that. So I'm going to call this height versus shoe size. Oops. Oh my God. Okay. Now, when I click on the chart itself, I get this little plus sign option. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to pick on axes titles. So now I have titles for my axes that I can edit. And I'm going to add a trend line. Everybody's okay? What's that trend line? Really? What do we call that thing in our parlance? Line of best fit, or you could call it the least squares regression line. You could call it a trend line. All those are appropriate. All right, my Y data was shoe size. So I'm going to rename that. And I'm going to guess that those shoe size numbers were US men's sizes. Europeans measure shoe sizes in centimeters. Did you know that? If you ever look at the inside of the shoe tag, they'll say like you are EUR, and it'll say like 37 or something. I think every 2 centimeters is basically a shoe size. I think. All right. This guy, the x-axis are my heights, and that would have been in inches. Actually, I probably don't need to say in inches. I can just say inches. Everybody feel good so far? So we got some titles on stuff now. That's good. I still hate this crammed in the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the x-axis labels. So this 0 to 80. Right? I just left clicked twice really quick. And now I can change my minimum. Let's change that to maybe 60. Sound good to you? So I press enter. That looks a heck of a lot better, right? I could still make this a little better, right? If I take my y-axis, I can probably start that at 6 pretty safely, right? That's even a little bit nicer looking now. How do you guys feel? So far, so good? Let's put the equation for our trend line in here now. So I clicked on my trend line, and I want to pick this option down at the bottom. So I just left clicked on the trend line. See how it's like the little dots at the end tell me it's highlighted. I'm gonna pick display equation on chart and give me the R squared value, and then I can just like pick that box up and move it somewhere where it's like in a less annoying location than like in the middle of my data field. Everybody good with that? What is that equation? The equation for the line of best fit, right? Let's calculate that, though, by hand also. So I have, let's do A, B, and then we'll do R squared just for kicks. Oops, I don't like where those landed. I'll put them there. Okay, who remembers the formula for A? I think it's y standard deviation divided by x standard deviation times r. Nope, that can't be right. What was it? Let me go back and look here real quick. Y standard deviation divided by x. Is that what I did? Let's try one more time. Okay, y standard deviation divided by x standard deviation times r. There it is. I just must have tell you. I think I said that. I just must have clicked the wrong thing. Notice, what do you notice about this and the equation on our chart? It's the same. That's great. The b value is the y mean minus a times x mean. What do you notice there compared to the chart? It's the same. That's great. R squared is exactly what it sounds like. It's just R squared. What do you notice compared to the chart? The same. How do you feel about our calculations? Should feel pretty good. Okay. What do you guys think? When you do this yourself, this is like another part of your IA turn-in. So let's say when we get back from Thanksgiving break, by the time you're back at school, I want you to have done this and emailed me your Excel sheet. On your Excel sheet, you should have these charts filled in. You don't have to make like a chart, make it as pretty as mine looks. Like, you just have to have that data in there. You need a chi-squared statistic, a p-value, a degree of freedom, x mean, x standard deviation, y mean, y standard deviation, n, r, a, b, and r squared, all in there with values. And the way you calculate them needs to be using a formula. Like, I don't want to see if I click on the cell, which I'm going to do, I don't want to see just a number there unless it's like your value for n. That's okay. But all the rest of them need to be something where I can look at the formula and just check real quick to make sure you did it correctly, because I'm not redoing all of your calculations. I'm going to check your formulas to make sure that you've typed them in correctly, not check your numbers, unless you have an insane number listed, right? Like if you have an R value bigger than 1 or less than -1, it's like, okay, well, clearly something is wrong here. Is everybody clear as to the turn-in? Okay, so everybody needs all the statistics, and you need, hopefully without any typos, what's height, Higgett, or whatever I'm spelling there. There, height. Spell it right, Mr. Gulick. Okay. Everybody super cool? Okay. And if you know what you're doing, what'd that take me? 40 minutes, right? Not terrible, but like if it's your first time using Excel, it might be twice that, right? That's not crazy. If you're not sure what to do, if you've never done this before, have the video queued up, watch the video, pause, do what I do, unpause, pause, do what I do, like kind of grind your way through it. This should be a pretty good video because I'm doing it at the machine rather than on the touch screen, so the volume should be good. The cursor, you'll see my mouse moving, so you can see where my mouse is going, because it has the little highlighter on the mouse, so you can see what happens. Everybody feel all right? All right. Item number 2 for your IA. When it comes time to write your IA, you're going to want to be able to write in formulas and equations to tell the person that's reading it what equation you used, and then like how you did the calculation by typing some of your numbers in. Let's show you how to do that and make it look pretty. Okay? To make it look pretty, you must use Microsoft Word. Google Docs stinks at this. Okay? When it comes time to actually write your IA, use Microsoft Word. Don't use Google Doc. I know, everybody else tells you to use a Google Doc. I'm telling you not to for this. Okay? So let's say I wanted to type in, I'm talking about doing the calculations, and it's like, okay, then I calculated the mean for my x variable, right? And I want to say the formula for mean is, and I want to be able to list the formula for mean. So one of the things I did for you is on the OneNote under the IA tab, I basically just copy and pasted in all of the formulas from the formula sheets for your tests. Okay? So if you need to look up a formula, it's all in one place now for you. I don't need to look up the formulas because I've done this a bunch of times. So like I have them all memorized, but like they're all in one place for you. So if I want to do the x mean, I'm going to press the insert button on the top tab, the insert tab, and I'm going to pick the equation button. This opens up the equation editor. So the equation editor, we have symbols here. So these are special equation symbols. If you click the drop down, there's more of them. If you click this drop down, there's even more like categories of them. Everybody's okay? Every one of you are going to need to use the Greek letters category. What Greek letter are we going to need to write at some point? Sigma, but sigma is actually on the main page. It's right, the lowercase is right here. But there's another Greek letter that we need that's not on this front page. It's chi, like it's in the chi-squared test. That's under the Greek letters, and it's there. Don't use an X, a letter X. I know the difference. The person grading it from the IB will know the difference. They will not count it as the letter chi if you use the letter X. You'll lose points on your notation. Okay, there is a difference. This is me telling you right now. Use the right symbol, please. Okay. All right, but we're trying to type in the mean. Right, so we have special symbols here. Over here, we have like how to type in, if you need a fraction, you probably want to use this version. If you need an exponent or a subscript, if you need a radical, we won't need any integral symbols. But if you need a summation symbol, or if you need parentheses or brackets, or if you need a trig function, we won't need one of those. Or if you need an accent mark, which we do, because what's the symbol we use for the mean? X bar, right? So I'm going to pick this option. So now I can type in X bar. And see how the whole thing is gray? I'm going to press the right arrow. Now it's not gray. And now I'm going to type the equal sign. If I hadn't done that, if I typed the equal sign, look what happens. The bar goes over the equal sign. Do I want that? No, the whole point of this is trying to make it look pretty. So I type my equal sign. And now the formula for mean is going to be 1 over n. So I'll do the fraction. And then I'll type 1 over n. I'm just using like my left and right buttons to move inside of that. Notice that, again, I moved right until nothing was highlighted. Everybody see that? And then I'm going to do the summation symbol. I'm going to pick this guy right here. And then I'll do I equals 1 to n. And then I want to do x subscript I. So I'll grab the script button, pick the subscript option, and then I. Everybody feel okay? If I keep pressing right, eventually that gets me outside of the equation editor and I can return to regular typing. But the thing is, I don't want to type on this line because look at what happened when I start typing in the same line as my equation. Does it look as pretty as it did? So I'm just going to leave that in its own centered line. I'll just say like the formula for mean is : pretty formula, new line, continue typing, whatever else I will need to say about that. Does everybody feel okay? Now to show my work, the way I would do this is I would do insert equation, and then I'll do the x bar equals fraction. In my case, I had 50 data points. Yours will probably be different. And I'll do parenthesis, and I'll go to my sheet here and look at my x values. So I have 61, 62, 63, and then I end with 76, 76, 76. Everybody see that? So I'm going to type in the first three. I'm going to do ... Notice what happened when I typed in the third dot. Did you guys see what happened? So it was like this. I typed the third dot, and it automatically moved it to an ellipsis, right? You see how it moved it from 3 dots on the below to in the middle? Wonderful. I didn't have to worry about trying to format that. Then plus 76, 76, 76. Everybody feel okay? Notice I used the ellipsis in there because I'm not going to write down 50 numbers. Nobody reading this wants to see 50 numbers written down. Like, just show us basically what you're doing, and then like a ... is fine. A couple of numbers, ellipsis, couple numbers, gives us the idea what we're doing. I'm going to go to the end, and then I'm going to say I'm going to switch back to basic math. I'll pick the approximate symbol, and then my x mean was approximately 68.9. I guess I could have used a hard equal because it was only 3 decimal places anyway. I didn't actually do any rounding there, so I can use a hard equal sign. Does everybody feel okay about how we're going to do this? Would I do the same thing now for a y mean? Would I show all the same work in the same formulas to do y mean? No, don't do it again. Just say, and then I calculated the y mean similarly. I got this result. You do not need to show the calculation, repetitive calculation, not desirable. Okay, you want to think about readability. If you've shown the person how to do it once, you can assume the person reading is competent enough to like, okay, I see you did this and you tell me you did it again. I trust that you did it correctly because I looked at what you did the first time and that was correct. That's fine. Okay? Everybody's okay?
Yeah.
In the body of your paper, when you're talking about like the mean is, I expect you to do like insert the symbols, like inside of your paper. If you refer to the symbol, use the symbol, the correct symbol. Use the equation editor, make it look nice. Even when you're talking about the x's, maybe you say for the x variable, instead of typing the letter x, that stinks, not pretty, insert equation x. Everybody see how I use the equation editor to get the pretty x in there instead of a dumb x? Again, the person reading this, me or the IB grader, is going to notice those things. We're trained to notice them. Again, if you do not do this consistently, you're going to lose marks on your notation. There's a difference between script x and not script x. And if you use the two interchangeably, you lose points on consistency of notation. Okay? Use script x whenever you refer to x. Use script y whenever you refer to y. Use the symbol for standard deviation for sigma rather than saying sigma. Everybody's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do we feel good about what we're doing here? Okay. What program do we need to use to be able to do this? Word. Got to use Word. All right. Next thing. Sure. So we've done that. We've done that. Have I assigned the introduction yet? Okay, that needs to happen today. Then I couldn't remember if I did that or not. So also, I'm going to assign you to write the introduction for your IA. Typically, that introduction will be about 1 to 2 pages written. Okay? In your introduction, you should spell out why anybody should care about what you're doing. You know what that means? Is you pull out your BS pen and really try to make the whatever you're doing sound way more important plausibly than it really is. Okay? So you come up with all kinds of reasons that people would be interested in the result of what you're doing. Okay? If you're talking about sports things, talk about the size of the gambling industry, general managers, scouts, players, the amount of money at stake, that the result of what you're doing could impact millions or billions of dollar industry. If you're talking about student stuff, talk about who would be interested: students, parents, counselors, teachers, school systems, government officials, in designing how long school days are. What is, health officials, whatever, you overblow the possible ramifications of what you're doing as best you can. Sell it in the introduction. Okay? So you're doing some selling of why anybody would care about what you're about to talk about. And then you should give a brief outline of what you're going to do, the statistics you're going to do, what they're going to tell you, outline of what the person is about ready to read. What does this kind of start sounding like? A little like a lab report, right? Science students, where you give an outline of what you're doing and then go through what you did and then you interpret the results of what you found. Very similar structural. Now this, you can certainly use personal pronouns. You should sell it as this is your thing. Talk about why you made the decisions you made along the way. That doesn't need to be necessarily in the introduction, but while you're writing your thing, this should read like a narrative. It shouldn't read like a lab report or a paper. It should read as something personal. There's a category on the IA grading called personal engagement. So how well you're able to write and talk about why this mattered to you, what you did, why you did it, what your thought process was for why you're doing what you're doing. Those are the things that are going to earn you points in that category. But the foundation of that category starts in the introduction, where you sell why you're doing what you're doing and who should care about it, why it's important. Okay, so that I would like those introductions by the end of this week. So by Friday, emailed in. If you look at the IA piece, no, I need to add that in. Let's just steal it from 4th Hours because I'm sure I probably already put it in there. Yes. Yeah, people, watch your language. All right, so here is the turn-in directions for the IA, or for the introduction. So again, how to name it, what you do, what to title the file, how I'm going to be grading things. Everybody's okay? If you want to know what to do, If you look at part 3, it says submit your introduction as found below. Where am I looking? This is not what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, okay. So if I look at the introduction, it talks about like what to include in there and how to write it a little bit if you're looking for guidance. So if you look at this very first internal assessment document, if you scroll down far enough, it gives you an outline as to like what to do. Right, so it should be written at least 1.5 pages. Again, 1 to 2 pages is fine. Informal discussion of how you came up with the topic should go beyond because this is a requirement. Discuss why your topic is interesting to you. Personal engagement is a huge factor in your overall score, so this discussion should be multiple paragraphs and convince a reader that you truly care about the outcome of the project or why they should care about the outcome of the project. Like sell this as their stakeholders. These are the stakeholders. This is why they'd be stakeholders. This is who would care. This is why it's important. You know, like really sell it. Provide a thorough discussion of your task. Identify your independent, dependent variables, your overall hypothesis, meaning not only what you're collecting your data for, but what you believe the relationship between the two variables is or will be. Make sure you include a discussion for why your hypothesis is only concerned with the population you're using, i.e., are you talking about students at this school, all high school seniors, baseball players, football players, professional swimmers, American citizens, you know, depending on what you collected data and how you did that, right? Provide a detailed plan for how you intend to analyze your topic, a general discussion of how you will collect your data. Doesn't have to be the most thorough thing because you'll do a better job of that later, but whether you did a survey or you collected it from a publicly available source or whatever, like give a brief discussion of what you did there, and then describe the calculations that you're planning on doing. So like you did a scatter plot, or you did Pearson's product moment correlation coefficient, aka R, chi-squared test, a line of best fit. All of these things you should list and explain like what you're hoping to learn from the calculation, what the purpose of that calculation is, what it's going to show you, what you hope it says about your data. So like you hope to show independence between your two variables. You hope for a linear relationship, right? And then explain how the result will help you prove your overall hypothesis. You know, like if you think that sleep is really important to students, if you can show that GPA is dependent on sleep, and there's a linear relationship where the more sleep you get, the better you do at school, well, that's what you're hoping for, right? Like that would be like, that's bang on great evidence that I can say that like, hey, we're not getting enough sleep. Look at this. How much better would we do if we slept a little bit more? Is everybody okay? All right. One other thing I forgot to do when we're looking at the scatter plot here on the Excel file. Okay, I forgot to mention this. When we clicked on the trend line on our scatter plot, they gave us other options for other ways to draw that trend line. Inside of your IA document, can't remember if it's this, yeah, here we go. There's an extra credit opportunity for if you look at relationships other than a linear relationship. So the easiest way to do that, at least on the Excel, is you can check maybe is an exponential a better fit, or a logarithmic a better fit, or a power function a better fit. You can just kind of like, you know, like click on these and, you know, try what you're doing. Like that's a quadratic in order to polynomial. And if you want another sheet, you can just like copy the sheet and paste it and then just like go back and change so you can have a couple of different pictures if you're going to do that. Is everybody okay with what I'm talking about there? Again, pretty easy to do on Excel, but I needed to mention how you do it, right? Because it's going to be kind of lost without that. Makes it a heck of a lot easier, right? All right. Yeah. So, everybody feel okay? I know I just dumped a lot of information at you all at one point. Takeaways. Introduction by Friday, right? Just 1 to 2 pages. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can change it based on the feedback I give you when it comes time to turn in your paper, right? Not a big deal. It's just a little bit of feedback, a little bit of rough draft. I'm going to grade it, so you want to try to do a good job. But if you're like, oh boy, I did a lot of stuff that Mr. Kulik said was not great, by all means, change it before the final turn-in. When we come back from break, your data needs to be processed. You need to have an Excel sheet with the calculations done and emailed to me. The week we get back from break is going to be your writing week. Okay? You're going to be writing your paper. Probably with the typing in of formulas included, you're probably in the 10-ish hour range of work. Now, there's nothing about typing the formulas that needs to wait. Like, we know we're going to have to type in the formula for R, or for the chi-squared calculation, or for A or B, or mean or standard deviation. Like, you can type those in now if you have some few minutes. Just have a Word doc started and just work on typing those formulas in. Or the symbols that you might need in the body of your paper, like type in a chi and type in an R and type in an X bar and a sigma X or a sigma Y, so that you can just copy and paste those into your paper later on, have like a glossary of symbols at the end to where you can just do some copying and pasting rather than having to go into equation editor every single time. And you can do that now, and that'll cut down on that 10-hour writing time. I will give you at least one class day once we get back from break to just use to write and ask questions and deal with formatting stuff if you're having trouble getting equation editor to do what you're wanting it to do, or like, hey, I'm doing this and it's like not doing it, making it look the way I want it to, like, come help me. Like, we'll have time to do that, but I can't give you like a lot more than one day. And it's probably gonna, I would say the due date is the following class period after. So we have the rest of this week, we have break, come back from break, week, next class period is the due date. So just giving you an outline so you can start budgeting time and ticking away at some of these things that are like, I don't need to know what my data says yet to start writing this part. You can do that. You can start writing the narrative without saying, without knowing what happened, like why you're doing what you're doing, like why you chose to do the things you did. Like, you know what you're done, right? You know the the statistics you're going to calculate. You can start writing those sections without knowing the results to interpret. You can't write the results section, you can't write a conclusion, but you can probably do everything up into that point, right? So if you're looking to get an early start because you're like, boy howdy, that sounds like I'm going to be real stinking busy, can I spread that 10 hours out a little bit more and make it over 3 weeks instead of 1 week? The answer to that is yes, right? You can write the introduction, you can write the data collection, you can write the mathematical processes. Like, those are all sections that you can start on now that do not require you to know what happens with your calculations. So if you want, you can start those things now. In fact, everyone's going to be starting the introduction now, right? Is everybody okay? You get what I'm saying? Again, I don't want like you to feel like I'm dumping this on you all at once, even though that is kind of what's happening, right? That's just kind of the nature of this project, and that it's limited by the end of the semester. That kind of snuck up on me. We probably should have had surveys out a week prior, but I've put my thumb on all my classes to fill out surveys. How are we doing on survey situation? Katie, how many responses do you have?
42.
Still stuck at 42? Tia.
Mine is more of a question.
Okay.
I did all the surveys and filled them out.
Good.
For the ones that were new, I don't know which ones I did and didn't do.
Okay.
Do you still want me to just do all of that?
I don't know. If you are a survey owner, if you click on your responses, you can see who responded. If Tia has not responded to your survey, please email her and ask her to respond to yours, and I'm sure she will get to it. How's that sound, Tia? That's probably the easiest, right? I probably should have just added them in order as I got them instead of starting with the class list and then highlighting them. They're just so hard. I can't spell everybody's name. If I got them spelled right once, I'm just gonna just want to keep it and copy and paste. Spelling's hard, guys. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. We got like 10 minutes left. You guys can relax.